All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about the Steelers-Ravens game from yesterday. And this was a different game from the previous two games that we talked about. The Steelers end up winning without scoring a touchdown. They won off of good defense, Chris Boswell, and the Ravens just kicking themselves with some of the things that happened. So let's kind of go through it. So the Steelers and the Ravens, this was a battle for first place. Steelers coming in at 7-2, Ravens coming in at 7-3, and the Steelers ended up picking up the win. And, you know, right away to start off the game, Derrick Henry fumbles. The Ravens get the ball to start the game, and Derrick Henry fumbles. And he slammed his helmet down, on the sidelines, was not happy about it. And he had a quiet day. Did score a touchdown, of course, because that's what he does every week. There's not one game this year where he hasn't scored a touchdown. It's been every week. It's an automatic touchdown. For you bettors out there, that's free money because that's all he does. But yeah, he right away, Ravens fumble, and the Steelers capitalize with a field goal. Chris Boswell kicks his first field goal of the day from 32 yards out. Then the Ravens get the ball back, and they go 3-and-out very quickly. Steelers, they go 3-and-out. And then the Ravens get the ball. They're driving. You have Lamar Jackson connecting with Isaiah Likely for 42 yards. They get down to the Steelers' 29, and Justin Tucker misses a 47-yard field goal. And, he kind of costed them in this game because he missed a couple of field goals. Then the Steelers, they turned it over on downs. They went for it on 4th and 1 from their own 46. And Russell Wilson ended up getting stuffed. And then Najee Harris ended up getting stuffed as well. But the Ravens didn't capitalize on it. They got down to the Steelers' 32, and Justin Tucker misses another field goal. And then the Steelers punted, and then the Ravens punted, and then the Steelers, they go 10 plays, 50 yards, and Boswell kicks his second field goal of the day, a 52-yarder. More punts, and then the Ravens, they go ahead. They went 6 plays, 80 yards, and Derrick Henry from 1 yard out scores a touchdown. That was set up by a 31-yard run by Henry, 18 yards by Lamar Jackson to Isaiah Likely. Then the Steelers punted, and then the Ravens fumbled again. Isaiah Likely ended up fumbling. It was recovered by Patrick Queen. He caused it. The former Baltimore Raven. You had a couple of revenge matchups. You had Patrick Queen going up against the Ravens, and then you had Deontay Johnson going up against the Steelers. There was an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on both sides on that play. There was a little bit of a fight there. But then that later led to another Boswell field goal from 32 yards out. So the Steelers were up 9-7. Then they kicked a field goal to start off the second half. Boswell, a 57-yard field goal. It was 4th and 1 from the 39 of the Ravens. But they elected to trust their kicker, and he came through. Justin Tucker actually answered with a field goal of his own. This was a 54-yarder, so he makes that. So that made it 12-10 Ravens. And then you had the Steelers answer with another field goal drive. That was set up by a 37-yard reception by George Pickens. And then Boswell from 27 yards out kicks a field goal to make it 15-10. Ravens then punted. Then you had back-to-back interceptions. Russell Wilson threw a pick. This was a bad one. This was in the red zone. This was on 3rd and goal. And he's trying to hit Darnell Washington. Ends up getting picked off by Marlon Humphrey. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was trying to throw it away, but he should have just... He should not have thrown that ball. And that could have been costly. But then the Ravens then throw a pick. This was interesting because Lamar Jackson hits Justice Hill, but then it gets ripped away from him. And it gets picked off. And the Steelers get the ball back. And that ended up being huge because you had a couple of penalties on this drive. Well, one of them was on the Ravens. They had too many men on the field. And then Connor Hayward was charged with a false start. But you had Russell Wilson connecting with Darnell Washington for a big gain on 3rd and 7 for 17 yards. They get down to the Ravens 32, and Boswell kicks yet another field goal. This was a 50-yarder, so that put them up by 8. But then the Ravens go down the field. There was a big drop on this drive. I mean, the Ravens ended up scoring, but Zay Flowers ends up dropping a pass that I thought, he could have went for a while on that. But again, they still ended up scoring. You had 11 yards to Rashad Bateman on 3rd and 10, another 11 to Isaiah Likely, a big gain on 3rd and 9 to Justice Hill. This was for 22 yards, then another 8 to Tylan Wallace, and then Zay Flowers makes up for it. He catches a 16-yard touchdown from Lamar Jackson. And what was interesting on the 2-point conversion, right? Derrick Henry's not on the field. They try, the run with Lamar Jackson. He runs to the left, and they end up stopping him short of the goal line, or a little bit more than that. But still, why is Derrick Henry not on the field for that play? Because, you have him on the field, the Steelers are going to be like, are they going to hand it off? Is Lamar going to keep it? What's going to happen? You put Justice Hill out there, you kind of have an idea of what they're going to do. And that's what makes, the Ravens so dangerous is, when you have both of those guys near the goal line, it's either Henry's going to take it up the middle or Lamar Jackson could take the ball and run it and score. So I don't know why he wasn't in on that 2-point conversion. That I was a little confused by. But the Ravens had all 3 timeouts. Justin Fields they actually put in the game. And on 2nd and 10, so they don't get any yards on 1st and 10. They give the ball to Fields. They put him in the game. And he scrambles for 9 yards, but he slides just short of the 1st down marker. Which, he could have kept going. He would have picked it up very easily. But I guess he just didn't realize where it was. Thought he picked it up. But then they ended up getting it on 3rd and 1. Najee Harris, he picks up the 1st down. And the Steelers end up picking up the win. They're 8-2. Ravens dropped to 7-4. Russell Wilson was not great in this game. He went 23 of 36 for 205 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Najee Harris had 63 yards on the ground. Jaylen Warren had 41 yards on the ground. Justin Fields had 2 rushes for 17 yards. George Pickens, their leading receiver, no surprise there. 8 receptions for 89 yards. Darnell Washington had 2 for 42. Couple of fumble recoveries by Deshaun Elliott and Patrick Queen. The Steelers' defense, 2 sacks of Lamar Jackson. And then for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, 16 of 33, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Derrick Henry, 65 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely had 4 for 75. Zay Flowers, 2 for 39 and a touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 2 for 30. Ravens defense had 4 sacks on the day, but they can't pick up the win. They had a lot of missed opportunities in this game, and they fall to 7-4. Steelers are 8-2. And yeah, right now, they got a little bit of a hold on the division lead. They're 1.5 games up on the Ravens in the North, and this is the tough part of their schedule. And so far, they've done a good job. They beat the Commanders last week, who are a good team, although many people might look at them as a little bit fraudulent now. They beat the Ravens, and now you got the Browns coming up this Thursday on a short week, which I think they could win that game, but we'll have to wait and see. It's, again, divisional game, and it's still going to be tough. That's in Cleveland. You still got the Bengals twice, but, got to like what the Steelers are doing right now. They are Mike Tomlin and that team, they're going to finish once again with the winning record. Mike Tomlin will not have a losing season here. It's not going to happen. The Steelers are going to win a couple more games here, or more than that. I mean, this is the tough part of their schedule. Right now, you could look at them at getting maybe like 11 wins. But we'll see. This was a big win for them. But the Ravens, I mean, Justin Tucker missing those field goals. There were points that were left out there in this game, but credit to the Steelers. They pick up a huge win. Again, we kind of questioned the move by the Steelers to go back to Russell Wilson, but he hasn't lost a game yet. Now, he wasn't great yesterday. They won in spite of him, but they did just enough to win. And I thought with the Ravens secondary and how it's struggled this year, their pass defense has not been great. I thought maybe the Steelers could take advantage of that, but they really didn't. Because it's funny how the Ravens defense is really good against the run, but they struggle against the pass. And this was a very good unit last year, but they were good yesterday. They were good enough to win. I mean, the Steelers, they kicked 6 field goals. So you got to give credit to Chris Boswell. I mean, he's been unbelievable this year. He's been the best kicker, one of the best kickers this year. He's definitely been the best kicker in fantasy, one of the best kickers. So, Justin Tucker, though, there's some conversations that are being had about him and what the Ravens should do with him because he has not been great this year, and it's unfortunate because he's arguably the greatest kicker of all time, but it just happens, The consistency is not there because he made a 54-yarder yesterday. He still got it. It's just like I said, the consistency for some reason is just not there. And if the Ravens are going to want to go far this year, he might have to make some big kicks. And if he ends up missing a kick in a crucial spot in the playoffs, that's not going to be good. So the Ravens are going to have some conversations about that going forward. I don't think anything's going to come about it because he has the track record. And like I said, still there. He can still make 50-plus yards. It's just there's some that he misses. And there's some, within 50 yards, within 40 yards that he has missed. So, and it proved costly yesterday. So, but the Steelers, they just continue to find ways to win games. And, they haven't played the Browns and the Bengals yet. This was their first divisional game. And, for some reason, they know how to play against Lamar Jackson. They limited the damage there with him. They did a good job with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was on the sidelines a lot. He really was not a factor. Had that big run to set up the first touchdown, but other than that, he really didn't do anything. And I really, again, I question why he was not on the field for the 2-point conversion. I think he should have been there for that. But he was not. And the Ravens did have all 3 timeouts. They had an opportunity to get the ball back, but the Steelers never gave them the chance. They were able to pick up that first down. That's back-to-back weeks now that the Steelers needed to pick up a first down and not give the ball back to the opponent, and they were able to do it. Now, Commanders was a little bit different. They got the Commanders to jump. Here, they were able to pick up the first down on their own with the Najee Harris run, and also I thought putting in Fields was smart because Russell Wilson, he's not, the same runner like he used to be. So I thought doing that was smart because once they put Fields in, he's going to be the one to take off with it, and he did. It's just he slid a little bit short of the first down marker, which, if the Steelers don't pick up that first down and they end up losing the game, that you point to that play as the reason why they lost. But you could also say they didn't score any touchdowns in this game. And the Steelers have won games in the past where they kicked 6 field goals. Boswell was the kicker in the divisional round against the Chiefs when they won 18 to I think it was the same score. What was it? Was it 18-16 or 18-10? He kicked 6 field goals in that game, and that was with Big Ben and Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. So Boswell has a habit of kicking a bunch of field goals and leading the Steelers to a win. So yeah, they pick up the win. That was huge. Yeah, that was the same score, 18-16. That was back in 2017, January of 2017. So nothing new to him. But yeah, give the Steelers credit, man. They just continue to win games, and the Ravens. Look, I'm not worried about them, but they had some missed opportunities. So, and they'll get their chance at redemption against the Steelers later on in the year. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about this game. What were your takeaways from it? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our next break. When we come back, we will talk about the NFC North matchup between the Bears and the Packers. The Packers winning on a blocked field goal. So back-to-back weeks, teams win on blocked field goals. So we'll get into that when we return from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.